Welcome. My name is David Stark. I'm the developer of the game Airships Conquer the Skies, which is the game you see before you here. So over the last few weeks, my players organized a tournament where they fought against each other for some prizes. Because the game records all of your fights and has a replay mode, we can now look at these fights and kind of study them. The great thing is that I have a really bad memory for names, so if you ask me which side was going to win, I would have no idea. So even though this is a replay, I will be just as surprised as you are as to who actually wins this fight. So let's start out with the fleet on the left. We have this handsome little device. So this is basically a boarding and saw blade ship. So we've got some grenadier boarders here. They've got grappling hooks. And we've also got the massive saw blade here for like slicing into things. So this thing is going to need to get up close and personal to enemy ships, slice into them, and then insert some heavily armed people to kill everyone. So this will require some active management on part of the player as well. Next, we've got this tiny thing. So there's very little to this ship. Basically, it's a minimalist grenade ship. So these things here are grenadiers, the other kind, the people who just sit there and lob grenades. They're going to throw some grenades. Again, it's going to have to maneuver pretty close to the target to be able to actually do damage. But it was probably very cheap. Then here we have a ship which is armed with a mixture of cannons and rockets. So it's got a lot of guns pointing forwards and not much else going on. One thing I'm noticing with this design is that I know it's got some fire points. I was thinking it just didn't have any way of fighting fires, but it's got some fire extinguishers. So hopefully this will be enough. One danger with putting all the weapons kind of so closely spaced together is that, let's say, if this rocket launcher explodes, it's probably going to take at least this cannon, maybe that cannon with it as well, and the propulsion and so on. So that's a bit dangerous. It's a bit of a powder keg of a ship. Gonna look at the land ships afterwards. I think this is just the same ship again. There's a lot of ships on this side. Okay. Then this one is a bit similar to the first one we looked at. So this one is a flamethrower ship. So it's got a heavy flamethrower here. And it's again got some grenadiers who are already kind of standing around, guarding things, ready to invade. So again, this one's going to close up to the enemy ships, burn some holes into it, and then send some grenadiers over. So again, this ship is going to require quite a lot of active management to be useful. This is a bomber. 2 bomb bays, 3 bomb bays in fact. So as a bomber, it's only going to be able to shoot straight down, which means it's going to have to position itself directly above the target ships. And if it can do that, it can be very effective, and if it can't, it will be utterly useless. So we'll see about that. Then back here, we've got... Okay, so this ship, this is really a big tour to different kinds of ships. This ship has a suspendium cannons. So these are these things, and they're basically giant sniper rifle railgun things. Basically, it shoots a floaty crystal at high velocities at its target. These are very accurate, and they do quite a lot of damage, but they have a pretty tiny fire arc. So again, the ship is going to have to position itself pretty carefully, but in this case, it wants to be far away from the enemies, but at the same height, so it can actually hit something. Then here, we have a very minimalist aircraft carrier. So that really just has the cockpit, some crew quarters, and the sail. And then everything else is just these planes. As it's got 2 bomber planes and 1 biplane. So theirs could do a fair amount of damage, but this ship is incredibly fragile. it can be trivially destroyed. It has no way of repairing itself or anything. So the idea there clearly is that it's just going to launch its planes and then it might die. Then you just have to hope, all for the plane's sake, that they don't take too much damage, because they could go back and land here and repair themselves if that ship was still there to receive them. So now finally we get to the land ships on this side. Here we've got one land ship, which is kind of an interesting configuration. It's got its legs kind of all the way back here and then most of its weapons here at the front. It's basically got the small and the large turret. Yeah, not that much else to say about it. It's got a way of repairing itself. It's got some water. I'm just really confused why this whole assembly with the guns is at the front rather than on the top, but it would probably be more stable. If this coal store here gets shot off, then this entire part's just going to fall off. But it's going to continue functioning, to be fair, so who cares? Okay, then we get over here. And so here's the final 3 land ships. So these 2 are identical. These are flak land ships, so they've got 2 big flak cannons going on. So these have a firing arc pointing upwards, and unsurprisingly they're good at shooting down planes or other small ships. This one's kind of a weird and slightly jammy design. It's basically a wall. So there's just a big wall made out of struts, and the idea is just to deny enemy low-flying ships from being able to move through easily. Because the game is in 2D, you can't, just go past another ship. So that's the idea there. But obviously this can be destroyed, it can be rammed and so on. But it's kind of a cheap way of denying the enemy. So that's everything on the left side. And then here on the right side we have rather fewer ships. So here on the left player really went for a variety of sometimes fairly cheap ships that did some big compromises, like this aircraft carrier that has no way of repairing itself, or these tinderboxes. Player on the right really went more for kind of expensive but probably more kind of resilient ships. They've got these 2 ships here. They've got big suspenium chambers. So for the uninitiated into airships, these silly crystals are what makes the ships float. They get power pumped through them and then they produce lift for the ships. It's got a variety of weapons. It's got Gatling guns, a bunch. And it's got 1 heavy cannon. So this cannon, it's not quite as extreme as the suspenium cannon, but it does even more damage. It's got a bit of a bigger firearm, and it's really good for just punching through armor or dealing a lot of damage. I guess the idea there with this design was to have a heavy cannon that can punch through, and then the Gatling guns, once the armor's gone, they can do a lot of damage through those gaps. Also note that when the players set this up, especially because this is also the very first fight in the entire game that happened, so people couldn't watch each other's replays. I didn't have any idea what the meta was going to be necessarily. Players placed these ships blind, so they had no real idea what kind of enemy they were going to face. They couldn't really react to each other yet. This ship's exactly the same. And over here we've got 2 more ships. We've got this slightly smaller one. These are sponsons, so they're sort of side cannons. It's got a bunch of these side cannons. And then a reinforced bow to protect them a bit. It's got a Gatling gun. Also, it's got a telescope. The other one also had a telescope and a crow's nest. Both of these help with aiming. So the idea with the ship clearly also is that it's got good aim. Again, this is clearly designed to have good aim, do a fair amount of damage, but also be quite resilient. So weirdly enough, this one at least doesn't have any repair stuff. Does this one? Yeah, this one does. But for what's otherwise quite a nicely designed ship, it's a bit weird that they didn't put in just a repair base somewhere here. Finally, here is an aircraft carrier. So it's again got 2 bombers. It's got a turret and a Gatling gun and a flak gun, so it's got some other armaments kind of scattered around it. That looks pretty nice. Also looks very pretty. I'm just going to switch to the outside view so we can see what these ships actually look like from the outside. So this is what this one looks like. You can see I spent some time kind of doing some nice decorations. There you can see also the livery colors, which are sky blue and gold, get picked up in the way the airplanes look and so on. And again here on the left, there's relatively little going on in terms of decoration. These are clearly very kind of functional ships built to do a certain thing, you know, with no big interest in making them look pretty. So we've got this variety of different ships with different abilities versus this fairly small set of ships. Now, okay, who do I think is going to win? So obviously one part of this game is about skill in designing things, and the other one's about skill in actually maneuvering ships. So I would kind of say the left player is going to win, assuming that they can use their ships effectively. Because these guys don't really have that much in terms of borders or anything like that. So assuming these boarding ships can be brought to bear, and assuming, you know, the other ships can be brought to bear, like this suspendium thing. I'm not sure how high this thing can fly, or where it might not have the service ceiling. So that could work. Just in terms of options and sheer firepower, I think the left side is better. But the right side ships are, you know, also look fairly tough and fairly versatile. So I wouldn't be too surprised if it goes the other way as well. So having carefully hedged my bets here, I'm going to make time flow forwards. Let's see what actually happens. Okay, so I'm going to pause again. So initially you can see, okay, so this ship, this is one of the boarding ships, the boarding and flamethrowing ship, is coming up here, and it's probably going to try to board this ship or a similar one. Also, now the game looks a little bit more interesting. You know, we just spent like 10 minutes staring at a bunch of ships in the rain, and now they've actually lit up, and it's a bit less visually boring. And of course, this one's launched its planes, as would be expected. So there's this one, and these ships haven't really done anything very much yet. Let's continue. So here, I'm not sure if you saw, this ship is trying to send its border server, but this one has actually retreated before it. Yeah, so this one is now rapidly retreating. They've realized, oh, the enemy's got borders. We don't like this. Down there. Yeah, so this one's just been boarded now. You can now see the Grenadiers have landed here and they're now invading, and they're gonna have to get their way past those guards. I didn't see that the ship actually does have some guards, so that might make it a bit harder. It's also quite on fire, so it might not matter too much who wins. So what else is going on the battlefield right now? These two ships are still mostly intact. Not quite sure what this one's up to. This ship has turned out to be kind of pointless. It was just hedging in case someone wanted to come in low, and no one's doing that. I kind of doubt that these three ships are doing that much damage in terms of being kind of too far away. So let's continue. This bomber is trying to position itself, but it's having some trouble. And this flamethrower ship... Oh, no, that's the other one. Oh, the flamethrower ship has... Where's that gone? Not clear. Oh, it's down there somehow. Okay, so that one's kind of out of service now because it's lost its lift chamber and it's only got short-range weapons. The Grenadiers are still attached to it, so it never managed to actually do boarding, so that's kind of bad for that side. But they've managed to get this bomber into position. And these ships are, this one is looking pretty bad now. It's kind of been torn to bits. Oh yeah, there it goes. I don't think it's going to recover from that. That's mostly a skeleton of a ship now. And this other one as well. Yeah. So it was kind of probably a mistake for them to go in this close. They had the superior range. They could have stayed at range and shot at these comfortably. Instead they went in close and attacked the ships with rockets from close range, which isn't a great idea. And this one's also lost most of its weapons, so I'm currently thinking the left side's going to win, but it's not certain yet. The aircraft carrier is somehow still in one piece. It's held together by a single deck here. One good shot and it will split apart, but it's still holding on, it's still functioning. This one, it's probably lost most of its lift, so assuming the carrier can stay out of its range, that's okay. These flak guys, yeah, I mean, I think they're also a big contributor. Like, that was actually very foolish of the side on the right, because they could have stayed out of range of these flak guns, and they didn't, so. Yeah, and yeah, there you can see, that's the suspendium cannons firing here. So there's the very long range sniper, and yeah, it's taking on this carrier. Or trying to. I mean, even very long range doesn't necessarily mean it's going to win. So only 2 minutes into a 5 minute... Oh, there we go. Oops. Is it going to break apart now? Yes. Okay, so that carrier just broke into two halves. That's okay, you know. The front half still got some guns and some flight decks, and it's still got a working suspendium chamber. Doesn't have any propulsion, but who needs that? So that's fighting on. And over here, these have proven quite resilient. So this one, the entire top exploded, but it's still fighting. This one is still in one piece. Oh, this sniper shing just got its suspendium chamber shot off. But again, it's okay as long as it's got something to shoot at. Who cares? So yeah, I think the left side's definitely won. I'm honestly a bit curious as to what's even left. Because it's apparently another 2 minutes of fighting here. Which has to be mostly mopping up, I think. Because yeah, there's nothing left. There's nothing left of the right side fleet except for that one ship. Ah, but now this is a bit stuck. These ships now probably can't get over their own wall, and this ship, this land ship, can't move forwards because this ship's in the way. So they've actually ended up producing a barrier for themselves. So they just have to wait until they finally kill the last remainder of that. By this point, quite possibly the players put the game into fast forward as well. So if you do multiplayer, you can vote on what speed the game should be at, and you can vote for situations like that you want the game to be over faster. Because yeah, not that much is going to happen now, probably. So I'm just going to hit fast forward myself. Huh. Oh wait, that bomber is still on that part. So that one bomber is still operational. It's getting repaired. It's getting refueled on this bit of wreckage, and it's flying off again, heroically attempting to somehow win. That's probably not going to work. So there we go. So in the end, Colourfit, with the vast array of various ships, won against Riyune with the smaller set of white, nice looking but maybe inflexible ships. So that was the very first fight of the Airships tournament. I hope this all recorded properly and so on. I hope you liked my commentary. If you did, or if you didn't, let me know, and I will probably do some more of those relatively soon. For now, If you haven't tried this game yet, you should totally check out Airships Conquer the Skies. It's on Steam, it's on itch, and on a bunch of other places. And you can join the Discord and talk to people and maybe participate in a tournament yourself one day. And that is all.